Everyone's covering the teams that lost in the first round. The more interesting story is the team they're about to call. I'm talking about the Memphis Grizzlies, the most interesting team of this offseason, a team that has as many cards in their hand as anybody. The Desmond Bane trade is behind them. The Jaren Jackson Jr. trade is behind them. Tons of picks came back in those deals. But if you take a look at their roster, they have plenty that they can do, and they're only at the beginning of a rebuild. It's a cliche, but it's true, that the worst place to be if you're a veteran team is in the middle, competing for a playoff spot, but not bad enough to be in the top 10. Other than competing for titles, the best place to be is right after you decide to blow up that team. Now you have veteran role players throughout your roster that you're ready to deal. No contract is a bad contract in terms of your return. You're ready to park bad money on your books. You're ready to collect as many picks as you can. There's no expectation to win. Everything is gravy when you make that decision. And that's what the Memphis Grizzlies did. Not only did they make that decision, but they did it at the perfect time, just when other teams at the bottom of the league are on the upswing. They had the 6th worst record in the league this year. 3 of those teams in the bottom 5, Utah, Washington, Indiana, are not going to be in the bottom 5 next year. They are in prime position to be the worst team in the league next year, unless Sacramento has something to say about it. And yet they have all these assets to go out and make any move they want. They can make any trade they want to. They are truly the most flexible team this offseason because of their transactional capacity. They can take on any bad contract. They have smaller veteran contracts in Ty Jerome and Brandon Clark. They have a bigger contract in a position of need for Santi Aldama, $17 million. He's on the books for only a couple more seasons. They have an expiring Contavious Caldwell-Pope, who has value as an NBA champion, a veteran contributor, in addition to being an expiring contract. They have tons of young players. And lastly, they have a superstar to offer, a desperate team who's ready to buy some upside. Because Ja Morant's value has taken a big hit. There is some risk there, but his contract is in the low 40s and he's only on the books for the next 2 seasons. That's the perfect contract amount and length for making a trade like this. Because you're acquiring him, you're not married to him. You can move him as an expiring contract next year if it doesn't work out. And that $42 million is not a $60 million Karl Anthony Towns contract. You can stomach that amount of money. Memphis isn't going to get a king's ransom for Ja Morant, that's for sure. But they're not going to get the Trae Young package either. They're going to be patient. When the music stops, the team that's left without a chair is going to call the Memphis Grizzlies for Ja Morant. It's hard to predict who that's going to be right now, but I promise you, one of them will convince themselves to take a chance on Ja Morant, to take a chance on that upside, especially a team that had a disappointing exit to this year's playoffs. I just had an episode about the Denver Nuggets. Wouldn't they love to swap Christian Braun for KCP? You bring KCP back, he's expiring. So even if you have a huge tax bill bringing back Peyton Watson, both KCP and Cam Johnson would be coming off your books, and next offseason's books would look pretty clear. They would love that deal. They would have to include swaps and a pick or whatever. But bringing back KCP, a guy you're familiar with, dumping that Brown contract, Memphis doesn't care about that 5-year Brown contract because they're at the very beginning of their rebuild. They have a minimum 5-year window, and they would love to rebuild Christian Braun's value and flip him again. They are going to warehouse bad contracts on their books just like OKC did over and over. Just keep flipping over these bad contracts, collect it with a pick or two, buy it out. If you don't have the expectation to win, you can do that. And Memphis is in prime position in that regard. Another Denver trade, if you want to expand it a bit further, wouldn't Brandon Clark be great for them? Wouldn't they love to do Christian Braun and Zeke Naji, maybe like Deron Holmes, for Brandon Clark and KCP? Memphis could ask for Denver's rookie that they draft this year. The trade can go down right after the draft. Denver could even include Valanciunas, a guy that Memphis is familiar with. That $10 million expiring, that could go in there too. There are tons of deals that are available between Denver and Memphis, and I think it's pretty likely that that's their partner if they're able to dump this Christian Braun contract. Another team I think is a very likely trade partner with Memphis, the Toronto Raptors. That Jakob Poeltl contract is awful. It's one of the league's worst. Memphis could send them Santi Aldama. Stretch 5 with all those rangy 6'8" forwards. He'd be a great fit And not only is his contract short, the season after next is a team option. Beautiful flexibility for a team like the Raptors, who's going to do their best to vault themselves into the top of the East. Memphis has Ty Jerome that they could include in a deal. Look at the Ty Jerome contract on their books. How many contenders have $10 million of dead money on their cap sheet that they would love to swap for a productive, reliable backup point guard in Ty Jerome? And for anyone saying, why would Memphis give up those good players? That's exactly the point. They have leverage. They don't need to give up these players. They're bad already. These veteran players that Memphis has to offer in trades, they're productive on the court, and their contracts are excellent. Contenders are going to be lining up to trade with Memphis. And other than Brooklyn, Memphis is best positioned to warehouse bad contracts on their books. It's going to be them and Brooklyn fighting over all the bad contracts in the league. Memphis, a team that we're going to hear a lot about as the offseason gets started, has all the flexibility in the world. They don't have to do anything, but they can do everything.